Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Inside Gaming. I'm Nick, and I have been playing a ton of Mario Maker 2 since it came out, and I'm sure a lot of you have too. But have you ever dropped into a crazy difficult level and noticed all those bizarre symbols etched into the background with like track pieces and wondered what that's all about? But maybe you haven't even gotten to take the plunge yet, because I gotta admit, that was me with the first Mario Maker. I saw a few videos of those really difficult levels and just went, nope, not for me. However, it's not as intimidating as you might think. There's actually a language that's baked into the community-made levels, and it really helps you out. Being able to understand those tells makes Super Mario Maker tons more approachable. This so-called hidden language has existed for quite a while, actually. It's been passed down by the Mario Maker ancients, dating all the way back to, 2015, I think. So we'll get into the actual history of this system in a little bit, but first, let's get you caught up on what all these little inscriptions actually mean, so you can get right to dying over and over again, but a little bit smarter for it this time. For starters, one of the most basic symbols in this hidden language is the Z shape, usually found in Super Mario World style and beyond. What this means is to press ZR on your controller, or really any shoulder button, whatever one's your preference. In the OG Super Mario Bros. And Super Mario Bros. 3 styles, you're really only going to see this to tell you to hop out of a boot for a mid-air jump. Similarly, you can find it in Super Mario World and New Super Mario Bros. To tell you when to dismount Yoshi and probably send him straight to hell, because what else do you do with Yoshi? But most of the time, the Z symbol indicates a spin jump. Spin jumps let you safely bounce off of spiked enemies like spinies, piranha plants, and thwomps, but that's the part that I think most everybody already knows about spin jumps. So here's a pretty common trick. If you ever see a bomb in a long row of spikes, the answer is spin jumping. Because check it out, if you do a regular jump on a bomb, Mario only gets one bounce before either grabbing the bomb or kicking it aside. If you do that in this bomb spike situation, you're gonna be friggin' dead. But if you spin jump on the bomb, Mario can bounce off the top of it all the way up until the moment the bomb detonates. Even trickier, Mario's spin jump will push the bomb to the left if he lands on the right side, and to the right if he lands on the left side. So if you want to cross that aforementioned long row of spikes, you've got to spin jump on the same side of the bomb until you make it all the way to the end. Spin jumping on the bombs can also help you climb sheer walls made of nothing but springs. Now, like almost every trick in Mario Maker 2, this one comes down to relatively tight spacing, but for my money, this is the most fun trick covered in this entire video. Shells. Shells are another huge piece to any good expert difficulty puzzle, in particular a bit of tech called shell jumping. In Mario 3, World, New Super Mario, and 3D World styles, so literally anything but the original, if you stand just the right distance from a wall and throw a shell at it toward the height of your jump, it'll bounce off the wall right into your feet and give you a whole bunch of extra air. So to make shell jump hints easier to understand, creators will oftentimes sketch out boxes over the exact spot you throw the shell from. The part of the box that's missing a side even tells you what direction to throw the shell. So naturally, it's all about taking out the guesswork when it's not fun and boiling it down to pure skill. And new to Super Mario Maker 2, sloped ceilings alter the trajectory of the shell in such a way that you can even bounce off of them mid-air without the need of a wall if you throw them just right. In really tricky levels, you might even find downward pointed boxes in mid-air. Even if you didn't know that you could gently drop whatever Mario's holding by pressing down and letting go of run, the ingenuity of the system would teach you that right in the middle of the level. So soft dropping POW blocks will avoid detonating them, and if it's done up against a wall, it can even let Mario jump off of them mid-air for some extra height. The same goes for springs and even P-switches. This is even tougher to do, but it is possible to jump off of those things in mid-air without the aid of a wall. You have to soft drop the object pretty much at the peak of your jump, and it also might help to turn around slightly so your momentum isn't completely full steam ahead. Or at least that's what I gather from watching the real pros who know what they're doing, because I'm still in training here myself, guys. Maybe you recognize some of those mid-air jumps from Mario Maker 1, but friendly PSA, the slight physics changes in Mario Maker 2 make this trick quite a bit tougher to pull off. A cool thing about the Z shapes in open boxes is that they kind of make it okay to break the cardinal level design rule of never acquiring a blind jump to beat the course. Just as long as the symbols are actually trustworthy, because this is the internet after all. Some levels are just gonna straight up troll you, so gotta get ready for that. Completed squares, though, actually can have a couple of different meanings depending on the context of the level. In some cases, squares are there to let you know where trollish hidden blocks are, but obviously not every level creator is going to be so kind. It's just the ones who chose to show a bit of mercy, they might incorporate them there. Squares, and even just single coins for that matter, can also help to highlight points of interest, which is great if you're finding yourself navigating one of these. So if you know you have to bounce on some bullet bills or something like that, look for clues in the environment. The good level designers are going to help guide you to points of interest where you need to be and all that sort of thing. This one's less common, but you might occasionally see a V or a downward pointing arrow in New Super Mario Bros., which basically just means to ground pound. I myself have only seen this one in a level once, but it taught me that I can ground pound seesaws to catapult things on the other end. Believe it or not, I did not know you could do that until I saw that helpful hint. Speaking of ground pounding, even though it's the fastest way to reach the ground from a tall height, you can also use it to dramatically stall your descent. Just think of how many times you've played some 6-year-old's annoying troll level and been dropped out of a pipe with no idea of what's below you. Yeah, you could try to fall slower with a virgin midair twirl, or you could go for the Chad ground pound cancel, which slows your descent way more. So let's pull out our metaphorical magnifying glasses here and break this down a little bit. Have you ever noticed how ground pounds have that little wind-up animation that Mario does briefly before dropping? Now imagine if you could repeat that animation over and over and over and over again. And okay, stop imagining, because that's exactly what a ground pound cancel is. You can stop Mario's descent at any time simply by pressing up. This pretty much turns Mario's attack into a regular fall. But if you can find just the right rhythm, you can alternate pressing down to start the ground pound, up right before Mario starts to drop, mid-air twirl, and repeat to essentially do that stalling wind-up animation again and again and again and again. If you play on a D-pad, by the way, it helps, I think, to use the stick for this maneuver. Some levels will use this mechanic as a puzzle element that challenges you to, say, reach the bottom of a pit after a thwomp triggers a P-switch. These may have indicators like arrows pointing up and down. Now, to be clear, we're not out here promising you that every level will conform to these standards, because some levels are straight up poorly designed, because 6-year-olds or trolls, or 6-year-old trolls. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference. In either case, use ground pound cancels to give yourself that much more time to react to what's around you. Just also keep in mind that these in-level symbols are not always 100% on the dot exactly where every shell jump or Yoshi dismount needs to be. Some levels are pretty forgiving, and others are insanely tight, but in either case, the symbols are primarily there to serve as a helping hand, not necessarily to give you pinpoint accurate answers. But not every trick in the book comes with a visual guide to tell you what buttons to push, mostly because some of those tricks are immediately recognizable once you actually understand what you're looking at. So maybe you've loaded up Super Expert Endless Mode and gotten one of those speedrun levels with a tight timer and an even tighter hallway with a breakable block in your path. There's no way around the block, so what do? Without even seeing the specific level you're on, I can personally guarantee you that there's either an alternate path, a P-switch, or a shell to break that block open with. But here's the interesting part though. If Small Mario throws the shell with the right spacing, the shell will break the blocks and pass through Mario without damaging him. Thankfully, this is one of the more lenient tricks in the book, because if you're running at top speed, you can throw the shell anywhere within about 4 block spaces and safely avoid an embarrassing death. One of the biggest additions in Mario Maker 2 is obviously the on-off switches, but I don't need to tell you that because every single level uses them. They're fun, but they're getting a little bit old. But not every level lets you do the switch block jump maneuver. Remember when I said that the bomb elevator was the most fun trick? It's possible I might have lied about that one, because this one gives it a run for its money. If you ever see this very specific arrangement of blocks, you can hit the on-off switch and press jump at the same moment to launch yourself upward. Some levels, like the now infamous lethal ejection, even have you chain together switch block jumps. It's tough, but it's actually really satisfying to pull off. Here's one that's not so much a specific trick, but more just a helpful tidbit. If you ever have to, say, thread Mario through a narrow hole where the slightest miscalculation means dying, use a crouch jump to increase your odds of survival. Now, you might assume that everything in Mario Maker 2 is governed by a strict grid, or that the smallest amount of space Mario can occupy is 1 block of height, but that's not so. Crouching, even when you're already small, actually does shrink Mario's hurtbox just enough to make some of those jumps a tiny bit easier. Hey, whatever helps, right? There's even more Mario Maker tech out there, but it starts to get ultra specific after this. The goal of this video is just to take that edge off of jumping in by giving you a working knowledge of the wordless hints baked into a lot of Mario Maker levels. Knowledge is a power, and you just did a push-up. Good job. But there's also some fascinating history behind all these symbols. And since we're all about celebrating games and gaming culture here, let's share some of those stories. Plus, it'll give you something to think about when you fail to beat your high score of 2 levels in Expert Course World for the 20th time. I've been there, man, it happens. So on to the natural question here. Where did this whole system of symbols actually come from? Well, the uninitiated might assume that the history of custom Mario levels began mostly in 2014 with the release of Mario Maker on Wii U. No, and wrong. Gamer badge revoked. I want your Pro Controller and DX Racer on my desk in the morning. Fact is, online communities have been tearing apart and reassembling Mario games into original creations since 1999. And like a lot of game hacking communities out there, Mario mods started with simple sprite swaps. Some of the very first ones were, well, call them very unfortunate attempts at edgy humor. But before long, fan creations started to take on more impressive forms. 1999 gave us Peach and Daisy: The Ultimate Quest, which went way beyond simply swapping out the Mario Brothers for the Princess Pear, and actually brought entirely new levels and power-ups. It was only a matter of time before diehard fans started testing the limits of what's possible within the limits of a Mario game. Hence, a surge in Mario modding popularity, and the birth of hacks like Kaizo Mario World in 2007. Kaizo, according to the always accurate, never fails you, totally trustworthy Google Translate, literally means remodeled, but it's basically come to mean extreme and unfair difficulty. The Kaizo Mario ROM hacks were brutal and took almost inhuman execution to beat, but they still found themselves a respectable niche audience. Maybe some YouTubers or streamers that you follow have given one of them a shot. But once the original Mario Maker came out and let fans create levels in an official capacity, the custom Mario level community naturally exploded. And with that explosion came a lot of creativity, which meant people discovering new tricks, which meant increasingly complex levels until it became almost impossible to know how to beat these levels. Even some grizzled old ROM hack veterans from the pre-Kaizo days would bang their heads against the proverbial wall trying to figure out what they were supposed to do. So to take out the frustrating guesswork without sacrificing the patented frustrating gameplay, the hardcore Mario Maker community figured out how to communicate hints to the player. It's not exactly clear who came up with this system, but the community adopted a sort of near universally accepted language made out of Mario Maker tracks. You know, the same ones that you now know all about. Now, we won't even ask that you shout us out when you drop that knowledge at your next dinner party to the surprise and delight of everybody, I'm sure. It'll be our little secret, just we get first pass at the leftovers, because that's only fair. Speaking of which, if you want to try out some of the levels you saw in this video for yourself, check out the description for the level codes and get practicing. It's really not so intimidating once you get the hang of it. It's just streamers being all dramatic when they scream at it, you know how it is. Well, mostly because screaming is good every now and then and kind of gets the blood pumping. Anyway, if we missed any helpful tips that could make someone else's time that much easier, let us know in the comments, because the whole point of this video is to learn more about Mario Maker, so let's extend that to you, the audience. And part of learning is also just watching and studying those better than you. So definitely check out creators like Grand Pooh Bear, Barbarous King, Carl Sagan42, Pangea Panga, the Beast 721, Go Sagan Slade, the Dragon Feeny, Trihex, and others like them. They play lots of Mario Maker, and some of them have even helped to write the book on a lot of what this video covers, so make sure to give them a watch on Twitch or YouTube. And thank you guys for watching Inside Gaming. We'll see you next time. The second Fighter's Pass character has been added to Smash Ultimate,
So let's give you online warriors some quick basic tips
to help you get good with.
and punish Hero.
First, let's get you good with Hero. Unlike the last DLC character, Hero is not a combo character. Sure, he has a couple very basic combos, but his real strengths are